Hi everyone and welcome to tonight's live. I'll just wait until we get a few more viewers before I begin. Just give it a few more minutes. Okay, so we'll begin. So, hi everyone and welcome to Progress Care Solutions live question and answer session. I'm Bethany and I'm one of the social workers within the fostering team. And tonight I'll be answering all of your questions that are related to fostering. So I've got a list of frequently asked questions that I'll be running through, but also if you have any questions that I don't answer or you want answered, then please feel free to drop them in the drop box and I'll do my very best to answer them. So I've had one comment already. So hi Anjali, thank you for joining us. This is my very first live, so please bear with me. So a little bit about me. So prior to my role at Progress, I worked as a safeguarding social worker for the local authority within the child protection and child in need team. So I saw the children at the very start of their journey, their lived experiences and what they witnessed and what they were exposed to. I then moved to Progress in April and my role is to recruit and assess applicants to become foster carers. I joined Progress at the height of the pandemic, and albeit we've been working through a pandemic, I've still been able to see many foster carers like yourselves that have expressed an interest in fostering, have gone through the assessment stage and then have become approved as foster carers. And then I've saw the children placed with them and I've received feedback from the professionals that are involved with them to say that they're flourishing and how well they're doing within these homes. So even though we're working through these unprecedented times, it hasn't stopped us. In fact, it's almost increased our efficiency and we've made ourselves work because we know that there's children out there that need loving homes. So if you think that's you, like I said, drop some questions in. Caroline Wuntford, thank you so much for your question. That is one of the questions on my list, but is there an age limit? There is no upper age limit. As long as you're fit, healthy and active and able to run around after a little child, then that's no problem at all. Age is not a factor. We do ask for the minimum age to be 21, but there's no maximum age limit. So I hope that's answered your question. So a little bit about Progress. So we're a family-run fostering agency and we're based in Wolverhampton. Progress provides care to vulnerable children and young adults. And also another little part of Progress is we also specialise in adult services and we have different residential homes. And these residential homes are dotted around the West Midlands. To meet the needs of the young people within fostering, within the residential homes and the adults, we also have a hub service which tailor makes packages to meet their needs, to suit the individual's needs. So a little bit about the process, because I'm sure that's what you're all interested in. So first, you'll express your interest to us. So that might be sending us an inbox, calling us, dropping us a message on Facebook or on our Instagram account. There's somewhere you'll make contact with Progress. Once you've made contact with us, we will then get in contact with you. That'll be phone call and that'll predominantly be me. We'll have a little chat. I'll answer any questions that you may have. And we'll have a conversation about the process. And if that seems okay, then we will book in an initial visit. And due to COVID and everything that's going on, we're doing these virtually. So everything is adhering to government guidelines and safety. So we're doing these virtually. And within this initial visit, I'll ask you a succession of questions about yourself, about your physical health, your mental health, your motivation to foster, your availability, your skills and qualities. We'll also talk about ex-partners, so partners that you've either lived with, been married to, or had children. If that's successful, you'll then receive an application form. You'll complete this, and once you've completed it and send it back to us, that's when you'll be assigned an assessor, and the assessor will find out all about you, all about your family, and get an in-depth understanding of you and your family and how we can support you to become foster carers. Once this assessment's completed, you will then go to a fostering panel, and it will be the panel that will make the decision as to whether you become approved. And once you become approved, that's when the fun begins. That's when you'll start having children placed. In total, this normally takes about 3 to 4 months to complete. So, why do children come into care? Children come into care for numerous reasons. It can be because of domestic violence, substance misuse where the parents had an addiction. It can be down to mental health. It can be physical health. Also, due to COVID, we've seen an increase in children coming into care due to physical illnesses. So if the parents has got COVID and there is no family members that's able to meet the needs of the child, then unfortunately that child would have to come into care. So we've seen a different kind of reason as to why children have come into care. But yeah, it's basically if the child is at significant risk of harm. So I'll now move on to the frequently asked questions, and I can see that Sarah Dowling has asked, does it matter that I work full time? I do live with my 17-year-old son and I'm in a long-term relationship with a woman. So thank you very much for your question. The fact that you're in a relationship with a woman, that will not deter you from fostering, that will not stop you from fostering. We're all from different walks of life, so that is not a reason to impact you from fostering. So moving on to, can I work? So yes, you can work. However, when a child is placed with you, there are lots of meetings and checks. And there's more meetings and checks that you would have to attend than with your birth child. And because you're the foster carer, you will need to attend these and represent and be an advocate for the child that's in your care. These meetings are usually held during school hours. So it's for you to have a conversation with your employer and see if they will allow you to attend these meetings and how flexible they will allow you and permit your work to be. Also, if the child was sent home from school due to illness or another reason, then you'd need to be able to pick the child up from school. So again, it's having conversations with your employer to see if they will allow you this flexibility. However, that being said, along with talking to your employer and seeing if they will allow you, it's also where you can draw on your support network. So if, for example, you're working full-time but your partner isn't, so they could attend those meetings. Or if you both work full-time and you've got family members, then maybe their family members could either attend the meeting, or if it's a case if you need to get to the school to pick the child up, a family member could do that. So you can draw on your support network. So thank you for that. That was a really good question. So one of the main questions on my list that I always get asked is, do I need a spare room? Yes, you do need a spare room. This is one of the main requirements of fostering. And every child in care should have a room to themselves. And as I said, children come into care due to many different reasons, and therefore they require their own privacy. So if a child has been exposed to a chaotic home life or suffered some form of abuse, This room could be their safe haven. So it's not a case of you've got 2 children and they've got separate bedrooms, but now you want to foster, so you're going to move them into the same bedroom. No, because your child's bedroom, that could have been their safe haven. So it's not a case of moving children around, it's a case of having a spare room that is solely for fostering. But you can make this as fun as you like. So you could have it as a neutral bedroom, and when the child joins you, you could find out about their likes and dislikes, and you could decorate it together. It's about making it warm, fun and inviting as possible. So another question I get asked is, how long does the process take? I did briefly touch on this, but I'll go into a bit more detail. So the process normally takes about 3 to 4 months to complete, which does surprise a lot of people, because when I have phone calls, people usually say to me, oh, it's going to take about a year. But no, we've got quicker, and it's about you working with us to work through that process. But it is an in-depth and vigorous process. But this is to ensure that you're able to provide the best standard of care for that child. So it will naturally take a bit of time and a bit of delving and digging. We also want to ensure that you and your family feel supported, and feel supported before having the child placed with you, so that you know you're prepared and you're ready for the process, and also having the child in your care. So yeah, we do have to have reference checks. We have to have contact with ex-partners. We will have conversations with your children. If your children are in school, we'll speak to their school. So it's a case of waiting for these. It's a case of waiting for these references back. But again, as I said, it's about you being open and honest with us and working together. It's not nothing to be worried about. It's not nothing to fret over. It's about us working together, and we'll support you every step of the way. And whatever time of day, there'll always be somebody there to answer your questions. And that applies once you become approved as a foster carer as well. So another question I always get asked is, I have my own children, can I still foster? Yes, of course you can. Lots of foster carers have their own children and still welcome a foster child into their family. As I said in the previous question, throughout the assessment process, we'll ensure that your child is included so that they're aware of what's happening. We also have different groups for the foster child, but also your children can attend. And I've been told that these groups are lots of fun, so they're not going to want to miss out on those. It gives your child and the foster child a chance to meet the other children. It gives them a chance to meet our team. And it also gives them a chance to meet the social workers that will probably be coming out to visit them at home. And also a chance to hear their story. So I often get asked that I've never fostered before and I'm worried that I don't have any experience. We've all got to start somewhere. So that's not a problem at all. And this is where us as the agency will do our very best to support you. At Progress, we have a lot of support that's available for applicants and also once you're approved. But there's a lot of support throughout the assessment process. And again, this equips you ready for your new journey. So we've got a Prepare to Care group, which is what it says on the tin. It's preparing you to care. And that's where you'll meet other applicants that are at the start of their journey, who are in the same boat as you. But you'll also meet approved foster carers that will tell you what it's like to be a foster carer before you become approved. And you'll also be able to meet foster carers that have recently been approved, so then they can tell you about the assessment process. Like I said, there's lots of support throughout. Once approved, you'll then have your own dedicated supervising social worker. So you'll have a social worker and the child will have their own social worker. And this social worker will be on hand solely for you. If you require support after 5 o'clock, there is an out-of-hours service. And this is a 24 hours a day, 7 days a week service. So the example I always give is, if you call midnight, Christmas Eve, someone is going to answer that phone and be able to support you. Also, if you call during the day and your social worker's in a meeting, then there's always a duty social worker. So they'll take your call and either give you the support you need or pass the message on to your social worker, who will get back to you. So there's always support. There's always somebody there to speak to whenever you need it, whatever time of day. In terms of support, we also have a therapist, and again, this therapist is solely for the foster carers. So it's somebody for you to tap into if you've got any worries or anxieties, whether it's to do with fostering or whether it's about yourself. She's always on hand to offer you that support. We hold regular foster carer groups that are foster carer groups that are run by foster carers or by the social workers. So you'll get a feel for progress through these groups. We also have a buddying system where an experienced foster carer in your area will be paired up with you, and they'll be able to answer the questions that only a foster carer could answer. We have lots of family fun days like summer barbecues, black tie galas, bake-offs and lots of clubs. Even though it's COVID times, we've been able to do these groups virtually. It's not the same as how it would be, but the support is still there. And it's a chance for us all to get together and share our achievements. So eventually, once you feel confident and you've developed those skills, you'll become that experienced social worker who'll be able to offer the support to the new. You'll become that experienced foster carer who'll be able to offer that support to somebody else that's started out. So I'll just see if anybody else has asked any questions. Oh, sorry. So Linda Cartwright, I've been fostering with Progress now for nearly 7 years and it's the best thing I ever did. It's hard working, but it's rewarding. That's lovely to hear. And as you can see, Linda is one of our experienced foster carers. And she's right. It is hard work, as with every job, but it is rewarding. So thank you for that, Linda. Can you foster a baby if you smoke? Unfortunately, you wouldn't be able to foster a child that's under the age of 5 if you smoke. But that doesn't mean just because you smoke that you can't foster a child above the age of 5. We just recommend that you smoke outside. So thank you for that. So here are a few Mythbusters. I don't own a home, so I can't foster. Why not? Of course you can. As long as you get approval from your landlord or whoever you rent the property from to say that they're okay with you fostering in your home, then it's not a problem. Another Mythbuster. I'm on benefits, so I can't foster. Yes, you can. In fact, fostering doesn't impact on your benefits. I'm unemployed, so I can't foster. You guessed it. Yes, you can. In fact, it will allow you that availability and flexibility to attend those meetings. So, yes, just because you're unemployed, it doesn't mean that you can't foster. Another Mythbuster, I can't drive, so I can't foster. Yes, you can. There's other ways of getting around. It's easier being able to drive, but it doesn't stop you. So I've just been asked by Mons, do you offer training? Yes, we do. There's lots of training available. There's training that you'll be offered before becoming approved as a foster carer and training that you'll be offered once you become approved. The training that you take prior to becoming approved is called the Skills to Foster, and this is everything that you need to know about becoming a foster carer, about the child's journey, about their lived experiences, and this just gives you an insight into the child so that you can adapt your foster care and the care that you provide to that child once you become approved. There's lots of training. There's mandatory training that you have to take, and there's also training that if you think, oh, I'm interested in that. So for example, the attachment theory, I'm interested in the attachment theory, I've seen it on the TV, it sounds interesting. Speak to your supervising social worker, and if we have that training, then we'll be more than happy to put you on that training. So, Anjali, what kind of training did you give to foster carers? So, hopefully, I've answered that for you. Is training online or face to face? So, due to COVID, everything's online at the moment, everything's virtual. There are still some trainings that obviously, like first aid, that will have to be done face to face. But pre-COVID times, there's online training and there's also face to face training, so you get a good mix of the two. So hopefully I've answered that for you. So another question. I am disabled, so I can't take care of a child. That shouldn't stop you from fostering. As long as you are able to meet the needs of that child, then you can still foster. Another Mythbuster, but I have previously answered it. I would love to foster, but I'm gay. So you guessed it, just because you're gay, that doesn't mean that you can't foster. So another Mythbuster, I'm retired and therefore too old to foster. As I said at the start, there is no maximum age limit to fostering. So as long as you're fit and active and able to run around after that child and meet their needs, then age is nothing but a number. I feel like that's a song, so I apologise if that was very, very cheesy. Another Mythbuster, I don't have my own children, so I don't have the experience to foster. Same as the question before about I have children, can I foster? Just because you haven't got your own children, that doesn't mean you can't foster. So please don't let these frequently asked questions deter you from fostering. That's a really good question. So I've just been asked, do you offer respite? Yes, we offer respite. Dependent on the needs and the package of the child, respite's available. So whether that be through one of our internal foster carers or through a residential home, respite's available. So in case you don't know what respite is support that's available to foster carers if they wanted to go away for the weekend, if the needs of the child were just slightly too demanding, too great for them, and they just needed a little bit of a break. You know, we all need a bit of respite. That's what respite is. So respite is available to yourselves, and it's up to you whether you use the respite days. If you don't use the respite days, you'll get them back at the end of the year. So Mandy has asked a question, what support and supervision would I get? That's a really good question, Mandy, thank you. So there's a lot of support that's available and there's a lot of supervision. So there's support that you would be offered throughout the process prior to becoming approved, and support that you would be offered once approved. So the support is delivered in the form of training. So there's different training, there's mandatory training and training that if you think you want to do that, or your supervising social worker thinks that that training would be good for you. So that's another form of support. You would also have your own dedicated supervising social worker. Your supervising social worker would offer you all the support that you need. So they would offer monthly supervisions where they will come out and see you and see how things are getting on. So again, it's a time where you can bounce off any worries, any questions that you have and direct them to your social worker. There's different support groups for the children, different support groups for foster carers. Another form of support we have is a buddying system. So sorry about that. So a foster carer in your area will be buddied up with you and they'll be able to offer you support. As I mentioned previously about support, we also have the out of hours service. So if something happens after the hours of 9 till 5, there's somebody at the end of the phone. So there's support offered to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So thank you for those questions. So fostering is flexible and responsive to the reality of everyday life. There are thousands of children and young people that require support, care, consistency and happiness. There is a huge need for foster carers who reflect the different cultures and diversities of the young people that come into care. And we're looking for people like you that can provide a child with safety and the opportunity to flourish. So if you think that you are that person that can meet the needs of that child, you can give us a call. You'll be able to find the number to Progress Care Solutions on the bottom of the page. You can drop me a message in the Dropbox and I can get back to you. You can contact us via our website, or you can slide into the DMs and send us an inbox. There's many ways that you can get in contact with us, but we're always happy to help and answer your questions. So as I said, don't count yourself out on these misconceptions. There's a lot of anxieties and questions that you've probably all got that you all want to ask. If I haven't answered them tonight, just get in contact with us and we'll be more than happy to answer these for you. So another question is, do I have to drive? No, you don't have to drive. There are other ways and means of getting around. So no, not driving will not impact on fostering. So another question, does my religion affect my chances of being a foster carer? No, we're an inclusive agency that celebrates diversity. Our children are from wide and varied backgrounds, so we need carers that reflect that. We need carers that are from all different walks of life. Just because of your religious beliefs, that would not exclude your application. All we ask is that you're able to accommodate the religion and the needs of the child placed with you. So if that religion differs from yours, it's just about how you can work together to celebrate each other's beliefs and values. So, can I foster if I have pets? Yeah. And we believe that animals can be very, very therapeutic to children. So as an agency, we appreciate the benefits of having pets. We would carry out a risk assessment on the pets to ensure that they are safe to be around the child, and address the arrangements for the animals in the health and safety element of your assessment. But just because you've got pets, that wouldn't stop you from fostering. Likewise, if you haven't got pets, that again wouldn't deter you from fostering. Or should I say, that shouldn't deter you from fostering. Can I transfer from another agency? Yes, as foster carers, you have the right to transfer from a different agency, just as you would do if it was a job. The process of transferring is very simple, and as you would have already had your form of assessment completed, that can be used to support your next assessment. So yeah, you can transfer between agencies. That's a really good question, Mon. So I've just been asked, would I need to take the child to school? It varies dependent on the needs of the child. It varies dependent on the placement and the locality of your house and school. But more than likely, yes, you would have to take the child to school. And that's why we say it's important, if you do work, that you have these conversations with your employer, so that you can take the child to school and pick them up. How will fostering impact on my family? So when you're going through the assessment process, this is something that will be a main feature of your form of assessment. And it will be discussed throughout, and also during your pre-approval training that you attend, it will be discussed in depth. It's important to understand that fostering is a whole family task, and that all family members need to be in agreement. So if it's a partnership and just one of the partners is in agreement with fostering, it's not always going to work, because you need to work together. So the assessor will be looking to ensure that your family has the capacity to foster, and we'll look at your dependents and the dependents that you're responsible for. So for example, if your child is in one school and then we have a child that's in another school, how you'll meet those needs. So if there's two partners, maybe one partner could take the one child to the other school and the other partner could take the other child. So I've just been asked, what checks would I have to undergo? So there are many checks that you'd have to go through, and as I said, it's a very vigorous process. It's a very vigorous and in-depth process that you'd have to go through, but we do reference checks. So we would speak to 6 of your referees, 6 people that you choose, who are more than likely going to paint you in a glowing and gleaming light. We speak to ex-partners, so any ex-partners that you've lived with, had children with, or been married to. If you have children, we would speak to their school. If you've got young children that have got a health visitor, we would liaise with the health visitor. We do local authority checks to see if you're known to the local authority that you live within, and also have lived within previously. We would do a DBS check, so that's to check if there's any risks that would be posed against a child or vulnerable adult. We would speak to your children, and they would also provide a reference for you, and we speak to employees. There's numerous reference checks and numerous checks that you would have to go through. But as you can appreciate, it's about ensuring the safety of the child, so it's very important that these checks are undertaken. Can I choose the age and gender of the child? Throughout the process, you can say what sort of age group you're interested in. You can say the gender. And we will do our very best to carefully match these. We would carefully match the child to your family. So if you've got other children in your household, we'd try and match the child that's going to be placed with you in accordance with your family. But it's not always possible because we do get numerous referrals. So it's about working with the placements team and working with your social worker to determine whether that age and gender fits your household. So Pauline Holligan's just messaged, and she's put, I've been fostering with Progress for over 10 years and I'm still happy with them. That's fantastic to hear. That's great to hear that after 10 years you're still happy with us. So thank you very much for that message. Are there any other questions that anybody's asked needs answering? Thank you, Gemma. That's a really good question. Would I just have a child dropped at my door, or do I get introduced? That's a really good question. And no, you wouldn't get a child just dropped at your door, because that would be daunting and intimidating and scary for yourself, and the same for the child. What would happen is you would liaise with the placements team. They would see the referral. The placement team would look through that referral and see if that fits your family. If that fits your family, your household, your lifestyle, they will speak to your supervising social worker, and your supervising social worker will determine whether this child fits with your family. If your supervising social worker thinks that it fits with your family, they will contact you. And if you agree that this placement fits your family, then it will be a case of liaising with the local authority, so the local authority where the child comes from, and discussing about how the child is going to be best placed with you. So it can be a case of introductions with the child, or it could be a case of if it's an emergency, then they'll just be brought to you, but you'd be aware of the referral, and you'd be aware of the needs of the child. So they wouldn't just be dropped with you, you would be prepared. So that's a good question about the allowances and pay. So we do discuss the pay throughout the initial visit. The pay scheme is quite competitive, and it starts from £350 per week per child, and it can range up to £450. So Starts on 350 and ranges to 450, but that's all dependent on the needs of the child and what placement and package the child is under. So what if the child has behaviours? As I said, the assessment process is a vigorous and in-depth process where you'll be given lots and lots of training. So the training will give you an insight into the lived experiences of the child and behaviours that they may display. So that'll give you some tools to put in your toolbox ready for fostering. Additionally, if the child has behaviours, that also reflects the pay, because if it's a complex placement, like I said, that reflects the pay. So you'll be aware of the behaviours because we will have the referral that comes through for that child, which will tell you all about the behaviours of the child, so you can prepare yourself. You can also speak to your supervising social worker and they can give you tools and strategies. Or if an incident happens midnight and this child's displaying behaviours that you hadn't seen before, then there's always somebody at the end of the phone that you can call that should be able to answer any of your queries. So thank you very much for all of your questions. It's been really helpful to have you all engaging. It's been nice to have people commenting and asking different questions about fostering, and it's been nice to have people approved foster carers to give us a little insight into how they're feeling, so that's really appreciated. So are there any other questions that people would like answered? So as I said, this is our live question and answer session, but this live will be saved to the page. So if you need to go back and see any of the questions that I've answered, you can rewind it. You can also contact us via phone, you can email us, you can inbox us. So there's different ways that we can respond to your questions. Oh, I've just had a few more pop in. So thank you, I'm glad you found it helpful and enjoyed it. What age do I have the child till? So that depends on the needs of the child and depends on the placement. So if it's a short-term placement, you could have them for a few weeks and they could go back home. Or if it's a long-term placement, which we have had, and the child feels like a part of that family and doesn't want to go, the child can stay with you after 18, but then it transfers to a staying put placement. So you can have the children till the age of 18. Just depends on the needs and the home circumstances. Okay, that's a great question, Andrea. So, given your knowledge, what would you say are the most rewarding things about being a foster carer? So, as I said, I was a social worker within the local authority, so I've seen the children at the start of their journey, and I've seen the children be placed with foster carers. It's just lovely to see a child that's flourishing. It's lovely to see a child that goes to school clean, and that child's going to school clean and he's having new friends because they're not looking at them as that child that was different to them. That child's able to fit in. It's nice to see the comments from teachers to say, yes, she now attends school every day. She attends school clean. Lunchbox has got food in it. And it's just nice to see a child fit into a family and feel part of that family and feel safe. So you as the foster carer will see the rewards, and we hear all the different stories about how the children are progressing, but you as the foster carer will see the benefits and then you will share them with us. But it's nice to hear the feedback about how well a child is doing. So there's many different rewards, but once you become approved and you join the different support groups, you'll be able to speak to other foster carers and they'll be able to share their stories. So I hope that has answered your question. So as I said, this is my very first live, so please bear with me. Well, thank you for bearing with me. It's been lovely to have you all be so interactive and share your questions. So thank you very much, and I hope you all have a great evening. Take care. Bye.